It's Rick's Corner with Rick Drayson.
Welcome to Rick's Corner. Today I have Jack Armstrong, who was a professional wrestler for how many years? And he was also a bodybuilder for how many years? And we met each other in what year?
1970.
1970. 1970, we met down in Santa Monica, wasn't it?
Santa Monica, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think our first match was on Channel 13.
I think it was, yeah.
But I'm not here to talk just about wrestling. I'm here to talk about bodybuilding, the golden years of the 70s, because Jack was just a part of it like I was. And we had two gyms back then. We had Gold's and we had the Muscle Beach gym. And Jack, being a beach person like myself, he kind of gravitated more towards the Muscle Beach gym.
Yes, because Muscle Beach Gym was right near the beach. It was very close to the beach back then. And it was like, especially the second gym, they had a first gym, and that was next to a smorgasbord. So that was a perfect gym, too.
Well, that gym, let me see. Let me go back. All right.
Broadway.
All right. Gold's was on the beach as well, but it was in Venice.
Right.
All right. Muscle Beach gym. Muscle Beach originally started, as I said before in some of my Rick's Corners, started actually on the beach in the 50s.
Right.
And then they moved the Muscle Beach gym. Did they move that into the Surf Rider?
No, that was the second place.
All right. So they first moved it to 4th and Broadway.
Right, which was next to the smorgasbord.
All right. It was on.
Yeah.
You keep going back to that smorgasbord because
it was a hangout.
Well, it's a hangout because all the guys back then ate and they trained. And what better thing than to walk out of the gym and walk right next door to a smorgasbord with all you can eat?
It couldn't have been better. It
couldn't have been better.
And then a block away is the beach.
Everything in one spot.
Yeah.
So I remember that gym was also on an alley.
Yes, it was in an alley, yeah.
And I remember going there one time, training with a couple of guys, and I walked outside, and some guy came up to me and said, "I'll give you $20 to feel your bicep." So I said, "Okay." And I flexed, and he gave me $20 and took off. I mean, so then I went to eat. That smorgasbord was all you could eat.
All you could eat.
And people would go in and eat mounds of chicken.
Roast beef, chicken, any of that stuff. Yeah.
There was one guy I mentioned once before that said he went in there and ate 32 meatballs, and he counted every one of them.
Yeah.
But I know that over a period of time they were losing money because it was being habitated by bodybuilders that were eating them out of house and home. And the big sign up there said, "Not all you could eat, it's the best you could eat." So it wasn't all you could eat after a while.
No, it changed. Then they will only let you go up like 3 times or 4 times.
Right.
And then it dwindled down to no times, 1 time.
And then there was the place up on the hill in Westchester.
Ponderosa.
Well, there was Ponderosa, but there was all another smorgasbord, so the guys started driving through the marina up the hill. You know, we were like an ant colony finding the sugar cube, and we found another smorgasbord up on the hill, and everybody started going to that one. Then there was the Ponderosa, was all the prime rib you could eat.
And that was great. That was actually one of the best. High class, right? That was high class.
It was high class. It was one of the nicer places.
Yeah.
You'd go in, you eat your prime rib, you want more, they bring you more.
Yeah.
And of course, bodybuilders would gravitate towards that as well. There was also one called Chicken Steak and Chocolate Cake. I don't remember the exact name of it, but it was out here, and a lot of guys would go there. It was all the chicken you could eat, and all the steak you could eat, and all the chocolate cake you could eat.
Yeah.
The problem with that was that you'd eat it, and they'd take another 20 minutes to bring it out again because once you get tired of sitting there.
Right.
So after a while, they take their time. After a while, you just don't want to eat anymore. Forget about it. It's not worth the wait. All right, the Muscle Beach gym then moved from 4th and Broadway to underneath the Surf Rider Hotel.
Right, in the parking lot, the old parking lot of Surf Rider. Right.
Now, if you get a vision of this, when I took you guys on the tour down there and I showed you Honest John's, I showed you the sand, well, the Surf Rider was right up the walkway on the first street you came to, and then it was on Ocean Avenue, was the Surf Rider. So basically you walked off the beach, right up the walkway, and you're in the gym.
You're in the gym, right away. Right up the ramp.
And how was that set up? Was it pretty nice?
It was a good setup. They had power racks in there, and they had bench presses, and they had dumbbells up to 150s back in the day, which was a rare thing pretty much back in those days. Yeah. And then they had everything. In fact, they even had Chuck Aaron's old dumbbell stuff that he used to load, and that was even years before that.
A lot of people may not know who Chuck Aaron's is. Chuck Aaron's is one of the strongest guys around. I mean, he was a big man. I wouldn't say he was a bodybuilder. He was a weightlifter.
More of a weightlifter, yeah.
But he could hold. There's a picture of him holding a woman in the palm of his hand with a straight arm out that you'll find on the internet. He was a little off center mentally. He would drive around the beach and he'd be drinking quarts of milk and just tossing them in the back seat. And he got pulled over for obstruction of vision because the milk cartons consumed the car. and then one day he pulled into a drive-in like an A&W, one of those things, and he had parked behind some guys, 4 sailors, I believe, and they started giving him a hard time. And he got out there and he ripped each door handle off their car, just ripped right off with his hand, so they locked all their doors, tried to start their car and pulled out, and he lifted up the back of the car until their wheels were just spinning, and then he let it go and they took off. That's the type of guy he was. I mean, he was a strong beast.
Oh, yeah.
I ran into him several years back, not that long actually, up a smorgasbord, but a deli on Ocean Park, and he had just come in to get something, and he was still wearing the plaid shirt and the khaki pants, and he was down about 80 pounds. And I said, Chuck Ahrens, it's Rick Drayson. He says, oh, hi, how you doing? I lost 80 pounds.
Yeah, he let you know right away.
Right away. I lost 80 pounds. I said, you still look great. And apparently he had some mental issues, and he was working for a guy sweeping up this back room was built of his business. But he was one of the guys down there.
Oh, originals.
Yeah, one of the originals. And then you had Hard-Boiled Haggerty.
H.B. Haggerty I worked out with, and Sammy Berg. He played in the movies.
Sammy Berg was Hercules. Sammy Berg was Hercules.
Right, Hercules and Three Stooges.
Hercules and the Three Stooges, exactly.
Yeah.
And H.B. Haggerty was a wrestler, and he was a football player, and he was just a real character.
Oh, yeah, and he was in many movies.
Many movies.
Paint Your Wagon,
right.
Mickey and Maude, all the movies. Yeah.
There were a number of guys. Rocky Johnson, when he would come to town, that's The Rock's dad, used to train down at Muscle Beach, and between that and Gold's. And then you also came to Gold's.
Oh, yeah, I came to Gold's also to work out, because I always like a diversion, where sometimes you got used to one place, and he said, let me go to the other place. It has a different kind of feel, different kind of weights, different type of dumbbells, and you go like, and I was into weightlifting, so I liked the versatility of using different weights so you could lift anywhere, anytime, any place, and instead of just getting used to one type lifting.
Well, sometimes when you frequent a gym, you got the same. You need to change your routine first of all the time, because your body gets used to what you do. But then you go to a different gym and you even do the same routine, you get sore all over again.
Yes,
fresh. It's fresh. It's a different atmosphere. You try a little harder. The things feel a little different, and it's really good to inspire your muscle growth. So if you switch gyms, you'll get a good benefit out of it. Then you go back to your other gym. But there were a few guys that popped back and forth between the two.
Oh yeah, there were always a few. I think a lot of guys went. But I used to see. What's his name? Brian Oldfield used to come there. Dave Draper. He used to go to both gyms. They both went to both.
Well, Dave Draper was basically a Muscle Beach gym original.
Original, right?
And he started, I think, down in the dungeon.
In the dungeon, right? Yeah.
Now the dungeon was on 5th and Wilshire. It was downstairs in a basement. It had water leaks, as Dave describes it, with broken pipes, and it was all a slab wall, brick wall building. But they had what they needed. And then upstairs next door was Weeder's first office.
Right, that was years before.
Yeah,
right.
Joe Weeder's first office. I told you guys where Zookie's Deli was. Well, across the street, 2 buildings down, was a small little office space, Joe Weeder Enterprises. And it wasn't any bigger than a small postage store. And he had his supplements, and Dave worked in the back, and he stocked shelves. That's how Joe started. In fact, I'm doing an interview with Joe about that coming up. And from that, he built this big, big business, and it just went worldwide with it. But Dave worked for him. Now, when you went down to Gold's in the mornings, what time did you train down there?
I trained in the morning about 10 o'clock, 10, 11.
Were you there when Arnold and some of those guys were there?
When Arnold, Franco, Frank Zane, Mike Katz. Mike Katz from New York. Yeah, when that group was all together. You were there on occasions.
Yeah, I think I saw.
Hours.
I actually think I saw me there.
Yeah, on occasion.
On occasions.
Yeah.
Mike Katz had come out from New York, and he'd stay about a couple of weeks. And all of you know who Mike Katz is. Wonderful guy, really, really fun guy. He was so huge, and he had that bowl haircut, and he would walk so stiff that we used to call him Frankenstein.
Yes, that's what he did.
And he'd lay on the beach, and he'd say, "Hey, Mike, check
he lay on the beach stiff.
Oh, stiff. Stiff as a board. He thought he was dead. He'd raise up like all at once, like the Undertaker on TV, and all you needed, I used to tell him, all you need is 2 bolts in your neck, and you're Frankenstein. That's it. Yeah. But boy, we had a good group of guys. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The beach back then, I mean, everybody knew everybody on the beach.
Oh, pretty much. And it didn't matter which gym you were in, they're gonna know you.
That's right. If you went from Santa Monica and walked along the boardwalk, which we did, down to Venice and back again, just to get a walk in, you knew people along the way. You knew the same people every day.
Right. It was the same people, even if you were a Gold's Gym or World Gym. I mean, a Gold's Gym or Muscle Beach Gym. You always met the same people.
Always.
Because they did the same thing, same smorgasbord, same eating place.
Right, and they're not always, they weren't, as Seymour and I talked, they're not the superstars of bodybuilding. I mean, some of them were, but like Seymour said, you had your cast of characters that were the background people.
Exactly, right.
But those people really made up what Muscle Beach was.
Oh, yeah. Like, how do you duplicate a Stevie Nice?
You can't.
You know what I mean?
And for me to describe Stevie Nice, you got to know him to
appreciate it.
Right, because he was about 6'5", blonde hair, always had dark glasses on, real wide shoulders, would stand with a lat spread all the time, no hips at all, real skinny, and he'd always be picking his nose. And then he'd sit on a bench and fall over.
Yeah.
And then he tried to get into wrestling. He was so uncoordinated, he tripped over his own shoelaces.
He almost knocked himself out.
Yeah, almost knocked himself out.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, he was a smart guy, and he was a writer for a lot of the magazines.
And made equipment, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Remember, he made pieces of equipment.
And then he passed away several years ago.
Yeah.
And the thing is that at our age, a lot of the guys are gone.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to round them up, and I've been trying real hard to find people. And if I have to go wake them up at their grave, I will.